Good evening, everyone. If board member can take their seat, we'd like to start our meeting. So we'll do the presentation. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our meeting to order for this evening, May 30th. Before we start our meeting, we have a small ceremonial activities announcement. The Herd Association presentation by Ms. Deanne George, founder, so I'm not sure if Ms. Founder in the audience, if you'd like to come to the podium and do your presentation.
Thank you. My name is Diane George, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence that occurred almost 7 years ago, which left me with a serious head injury. I then founded a charity that provides emergency services for women and their children fleeing domestic violence and sexual assault. I organized a Voices of Women Stories of Survivors event where survivors were able to heal by sharing how they survived with others. I invited Chief Bordelot to attend, and I can't tell you how grateful I was when he attended our first event and many others. He treated me with such respect and kindness. I'm thankful for the ongoing support that Chief Bordelot has been providing to help end violence against women and children, as it is one of his priorities. I had a photo frame to thank him for all the support he has given me and to others with the violence against women events that he attends in the community. Thank you.
Just before we take the picture there, I brought Inspector Joan McKenna up, and I'm proud to accept this on behalf of all the members of the Ottawa Police Service who work tirelessly on ensuring that we continue the hard work around ending violence against women. So, Diane, thank you very much for the work that you do in our community and to represent all the other survivors. And, Joan, thank you very much for your leadership on the Violence Against Women initiative. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Founder, and congratulations, Chief, and thanks to all our member men and women for doing a great job. Moving on with the agenda, confirmation of the agenda. Okay, thank you. Confirmation of minute for April 25th, 2016. Okay, thank you. Declaration of interest. Thank you. We do have a public delegation, post-incident neighborhood support framework, and I see our colleague, the chair of Crime Prevention Ottawa, Councillor Chad Cadre, in the audience, and we'll have a presentation by Ms. Nancy Worthful, the Executive Director of Crime Prevention Ottawa, and she promised me it will be a short presentation. So we'll hold presentation till we go through the agenda. Ottawa Police Service presentation, the chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and enhancement conventional weapon presentation by Superintendent Scott Matstead will hold this. We have amendment to the procedures bylaw of number 2014 to be considered at the 27 June meeting 2016, basically to change the timing of our meeting in July's meeting from 5 to 4 p.m. So we can start at 4 instead of 5, and this is a public notice in in our agenda. So is the item received? And thank you. Item number 1, the chief's verbal report. Will hold item number 1. Item number 2, appointment of a special constable, RCMP identification, nominations. Is the item K? Thank you. Item number 3, the Byward Market Street Ambassador Program 2015 Annual Report and 2016 funding. I believe Member Veliket has a question for this, so we'll hold item number 3, Member Veliket. I'll come back to you. Item number 4, she has a question about item number 3.
No, we're just wondering, I find the location of it in the agenda strange, but you skipped over inquiries where it is there at above the notice of
We'll
motion.
use the inquiry at the end because...
It's not at the end,
okay.
that's why we were wondering.
Councillor Tinley already asked me for inquiry. Thank you. Item number 4, the 2016 audit plan. The Ottawa Police Service Board approved the 2016 audit plan. Is the item carried? Approved. Thank you. Item number 5, performance report first quarter 2016. Is the item received? Item number 6, outstanding board inquiries in motion, May 2016. Is the item received? Thank you. Item number 7 is the letters of commendation as listed. Also, we have communications. We have 9 of them actually, but one item here is a proposed change to the Highway Traffic Act color coding observed for the interior of driver and window, and that's motion we have put forward as on behalf of our board, and I think that's been circulated now right across the province. So, and also we have the provincial grant funding is a letter dated May 10 from the Durham Regional Police. So it's all the communication received. See, thank you. So we'll go to item number 1, and I will call on Nancy Worsford and maybe the Chair of Crime Prevention to join us on the table.
Good afternoon, Chair, and to the board members. Thank you for accommodating our request to be at this meeting and to present the Post-Incident Neighborhood Support Network, which I'm sure some of you have heard about previously because it is something that Crime Prevention Ottawa is working with the Ottawa Police Service in terms of moving forward on this project. As Chair mentioned, to my left is Nancy Worsfold, who is the Executive Director for Crime Prevention Ottawa, and on my far left is a gentleman named Mehdi Nusas. And if you don't know Mehdi, you'll get to know him this evening and the great work that him and his organization is providing in the east end of the city, hopefully going forward to go across the city in terms of, I think it's a great program. And I've got a statement prepared that I could read, but I'd sooner not read that because the times are short. What I did want to say in defense of both the CPO, the Ottawa Police, and Mehdi himself is the fact that how well we work together closely on not only this program, but on the gang exit strategy that has been near and dear to the Ottawa Police Service as well as Crime Prevention Ottawa. So having said all that, I'll turn the floor over to Mehdi and to Nancy to walk you through the presentation. And thanks again, and we will be, all three of us will be accepting questions after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councillor Kadri. This presentation, we were here in March to present the Time for Change Gang Intervention Exit Program. This is another part of the Ottawa Gang Strategy. There are pillars of neighborhoods, early prevention, intervention, and enforcement within the gang strategy. One of the things that we identified as important to the gang strategy was attention to neighborhoods. In our original consultation, we found that neighborhoods were severely challenged by tragic incidents such as shootings and murders. We have partnered closely with Rita Rockcliffe Community Resource Centre and developed this post-incident support framework in close partnership with the Ottawa Police. So we're here to present it as a wonderful example of police-community partnership. And I'm going to pass it over to Mehdi Louzoise for the rest.
Merci, Nancy. Good evening, everybody. So I'm the community developer at the Rita Rockcliffe Community Resource Center, and our center is a part of the coalition of the Community Health Resource Center. As you know, there's 13 centers like our center across the city. So we did partnership with the crime prevention and the gang strategy actually around some initiative for in response to a major incident in the community that could affect the community. So this one was basically to help restore community cohesion after an incident happened. And just to keep in mind, this protocol is really after the police intervention is done in the community, and most of the time we do have access to the scene after to meet the neighbors. So we're not going to respond as the operation are going, but usually we go after the intervention is over. So the protocol is basically is to provide support and resources to different residents affected by an incident in the community, and the way we are thinking to do it is by mobilizing local resources. So there's a lot of partners in the community who could help, including our partnership with Ottawa Police, but sometimes we feel like the Community Association, Ottawa Housing, and other partners could work together in responding to this incident. In the past, for our perspective at the Community Resource Center, we hear about this incident fortunately a few days after or the next day in the media. So, and most of the time we don't know how to respond to those incidents, so we don't have the adequate resources. Part of the development of this protocol, basically we are learning collectively how to respond collectively to those major incidents happening in our community. They're really traumatic, and we want to respond collectively to help the community. So we defined few incidents that we thought this protocol could address and respond to, and I highlighted in major police intervention. So this one is basically any time we thought we see any major police intervention in the community, SWAT team or anybody with masks or anything like that. Sometimes we feel the community are really worried about their safety after the intervention. So we thought that this protocol could be triggered also basically after any of those incidents that you see on the list, but one of them could be also the major police intervention. So for this protocol to be successful, we thought that we should link this protocol to something that Ottawa Police has already has in place, and one of them was the standard operation procedure for major incident. And I wanted to highlight the great work of Inspector Chris Runwick around that SOP. And basically what we did, we linked our procedure to this SOP. So we thought, we wanted to understand how are we going to work in partnership with Ottawa Police in responding to those incidents collectively as partners. And we had a very successful test the last few months when we basically conducted a pilot in Overbrook. And now we received through the media relationship at Ottawa Police an email basically sending us a notification about something happened in our neighborhood, which is very, very helpful, which we didn't have before. And I know you see shortly how we basically work through the protocol. The other two protocols that we used also, the post-suicidal protocol and the existing other protocols that we have in our agency. So this protocol doesn't replace our own protocol. For example, Ottawa Community Housing had their own protocol, but this is basically a link between all those protocols that we have in our agencies. So it's a formalized channel for trusted communication between community partners, and really we want to respond in a timely manner. Sometimes we basically have a quick phone call or a conference call between the partners and the community and decide collectively how are we going to respond. Most of the first call are just conversation and information sharing, and that was one of the key components that was brought to our attention by the Community Association and community members. Everybody wants to know what happened and what's next. So by having this phone calls, we share what we can share, and from our last example in Overbrook as well, Ottawa Police at the first call, basically they said there is nothing we can share for now, and that was already an information for the community members to basically wait and see what happened, and when the information is made available, then it will be shared to the group. We're using also a framework that basically go through the cycle for this for our response. So the critical incidents, the red that you see on the slide, is basically where the incident happened. At this time, basically, there is an immediate 911 call or the police intervention. We are not responding at that level. We are coming at level 2, which is network response. So this one we're hoping this will happen between 4 to 72 hours after the incident occurred. And what it looks like, it could be a phone call, it could be a quick meeting. In Overbrook, we had a conference call between different partners, and we had a staff sergeant from Ottawa Police who was with us on that phone call. Everybody shared information, for example, the school board at that time, they were working already on a letter that they were going to send to the parents, so that letter was made available also to the group because of that initial phone call. The advantage of this approach is we're also trying to avoid conflict after this incident. So we're trying to understand who's doing what and how we can help. And we're trying to reduce trauma in the community. So in the past, it happened before that we're trying to help, but without coordination, we knocked on the same house 3 times from 3 different agencies. So we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to make sure it's coordinated and the response is coordinated. So here we're not talking action, we're talking just information sharing. The phase 3, we're talking planning and coordination, and here we're talking action. So some of them are street outreach. In some cases, we plan community events 6 weeks after an incident. So some of them could be short-term, some of them could be long-term. And after each incident, we'll try to have a debrief and basically see if there's anything we can learn and improve for the next response. And there's a constant evaluation of the protocol that we're having. It's something new, like just having the research last year around this protocol, and we saw what the City of Toronto have in place in response to this protocol. They have a full-time staff at City Hall who coordinate this type of work. We are trying to duplicate this at the community level by the different community partners and Ottawa Police. So the activation of there is an activation process for the protocol. I'll save you the time on this, but basically we're making sure that everybody's receiving a proper notification and everybody knows their role. For example, when we looked at the SOP that Ottawa Police have, the city councillors receive a notification, the community police officer receive a notification, and so on. So we were making sure we have an activation process in the protocol. So in Overbrook, we use it twice. And this is what I wanted to spend some time, is basically we had, unfortunately, 2 incidents in the community, and we did receive this email from Ottawa Police regarding the incident, which basically triggered right away that phone call between the different partners. The first phone call was a learning process even for us, because naturally everybody thought we were talking about action, we were basically information sharing. And then in the next planning stage, we'll start looking at different initiatives and how could we improve some of those community safety at long term. A lot of things came through this incident as well that few community members were highlighting, for example, kids not accessing recreation centers or lack of community programs. So it turned from an unfortunate situation to a momentum that maybe we can build more connection with that particular neighborhood. In terms of collaboration with Ottawa Police, I just wanted to highlight a couple of those examples. So the media release that we're receiving an information now that we can share with the partners. And as the days goes, if there's any other communication, I know Chef Bordeleux, at the last incident at Jasmine, you had that letter that you sent to the community. It was shared also through our network to the different partners. So anything that is public that we can share, there is a great network of partners, including the community association. Because from the stakeholder perspective, we do receive some kind of communication, but at the community level, sometimes they don't know where the information is coming from. Also, we had great participation from Ottawa Police at the first initial phone call, and after that, one of the suggestions that from the incident that we had at Larson Park in Overbrook was to conduct a SEPTED audit. So in our partnership with Ottawa Police, they took the lead on basically conducting a SEPTED audit in the park to hopefully improve that park for future kids' activities. And basically with the messaging that we send to the community, also with the media and everything, we try to collect data with the different partners and send one message to the
media. Because what happened is, in the past, we had issues in what is sent to the media, and some of those messages are creating more harm at the community after this incident. So it's something new. We are really looking to improve the protocol. The next phase, we are trying basically to enroll this model in different communities in Ottawa. There is different community partners and residents who are really interested to have this model in their neighborhood. So they're going to develop their protocol for the reality of that particular neighborhood. So it may change from neighborhood to another, but the big guidelines will be the same. We're looking also on developing potential trauma-friendly resources and material. So instead of going with 10 flyers knocking on people's door, we may have one that basically will group some of the most important information, and training the staff who are going basically to respond to those incidents as well. Okay.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup tout le monde et nous sommes prêts pour des questions si vous en avez.
Okay, thank you very much, Nancy. And any question to our presenter? No? Suzanne?
Beau travail, Mehdi. Félicitations.
Good work, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Kadri. And also we were joined by Councillor Joe Medic as well from Ennis Ward. Thank you, folks, for attending. Can we receive this public delegation? Yes, ma'am. Oh, the chief, sorry. Chief, go ahead.
It's not a question, just before you go there. So I think we really recognize the impact that major events will happen in our communities and the impact it's going to have on people who live in those communities. And I think that the unfortunate reality is that bad things will happen. And I think that's why it's important for us to continue working with our partners in the community. And, Mr. Chair, whether it's in our business plan or it's under the service initiative, that's why we want to enhance the work that we are doing with our partners. And the community resource centers that are out there are a tremendous wealth of great people who are connected, and that's what we want to try to access those, to leverage those relationships and to ensure that we are in fact reaching out to those communities. And the protocol is led by our district people who come in after to respond to an incident. And I just want to acknowledge the work that they've done in the number of incidents that we've had over the past number of while. And Mehdi, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup pour ton ouvrage aussi. I think a tremendous work, and we want now to see as far as how can we grow this and leverage all the other centers that we have around the city to be able to learn from the experiences that you have led. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much, folks, again. Thank you, Chief. Item number 2 is we have OPS presentation from Superintendent Scott Metzger.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. How's that? We good? Use that one. Okay, we'll work this out. So, good evening. I'm Superintendent Scott Neisted, and I'm responsible for the Emergency Operations Directorate at the Ottawa Police Service. To my right, your left, is Sergeant Milt Capiday. He's a supervisor with our CBNRE unit, and we're pleased to be here tonight to give you a review.
Scott, who did you say that you were with, sir?
Sergeant Milt Capiday. Sorry, they have one of the speakers here because the sound wasn't working. So
who's he with?
the CBNRE unit. Yeah, that's Ottawa Police. Ottawa Police.
Your badge is so strange. Did you see it?
Don't answer that, please.
Is it a money-saving tool or something?
No, that's his regular working uniform. Okay, thank you. So the story of the CBNRE team and unit is best told through some of the high-profile cases that they've been involved in over the the last few years. Many of you will remember last January, on January 20th, 2015, when there was a call at the Chino Hotel. It made city and international media. There was a BOLO, a be on the lookout for a gentleman from the East Coast in Nova Scotia RCMP, had a male that they believed was in possession of a very dangerous substance, and his vehicle was located at the Chino Hotel.
Police were called to this Ottawa hotel last night after being tipped off that Christopher Phillips of Halifax posed a danger.
Potentially in possession of some dangerous substances.
Hotel guests were immediately evacuated.
They got a call to say, put your jacket, your boots, and get out now. So we did what we're supposed to.
Can you not hear it? Okay. Well, I apologize. John Steinbach set me up on this tonight. So he told me everything was fine, and he's brought me up here, so it's all John's fault. What that was is a video just replaying the CTV news that night from that. So we'll skip that since you can't hear it. There's no use taking a look. So I'll get into what happened that night. Our duty inspector attended and realized that the seriousness of the call, and the entire hotel had to be evacuated and secured. So our CBNRE unit assisted our tactical members in ensuring that their personal protective equipment was properly installed, as this alleged chemical that the gentleman may have had was extremely dangerous. It took most of the night to evacuate the hotel, and at 8:30 in the morning, the gentleman was arrested. The CBNRE unit, they then went through the personal belongings, the car, and the room, and we were very fortunate that none of the chemicals that were believed to be on him were there. And if it wasn't for the expertise of our officers, that call would have taken much longer. Looking at the operational overview of the unit, they are available 24/7 to respond to explosives-related incidents or crisis situations. They have experts who can counter radiological, biological, and chemical devices. Also, they have the ability to use tactical use of explosives for explosive forced entry at strongholds. They also are a special support unit that provides protective assistance to police services and government agencies in the detection of explosives in support of the security surrounding the Prime Minister, foreign VIPs, and during major events. They'll be very busy at the end of June, which you'll hear about later tonight, for the North American Leaders Summit. They also have the ability, as experts, they instruct in our first responders and also our CBNRE unit. In 2015, out of the 93 calls that the unit received, more than 1/3 of them were suspicious packages. And this reflects on the current world state of the heightened terrorist alert and people being just more aware of what's around them, and when they see these packages, they're calling them in. Other calls related to a variety of potentially dangerous substances and situations, pyrotechnics, suspicious powders, and old military ordnances, to name a few. This is a proud integrated operation between the RCMP and the Ottawa Police Service. It has been very successful, and the factors that led to the joining of the RCMP and the Ottawa Police Service into one integrated unit were the ever-changing and increased criminal terrorist threat that we see, growing need for these units with specialized response capabilities, also a greater need for the collaboration between the OPS and the RCMP. What this unit does provide is a larger resource pool that can support 2 shifts, better training at the local, national, and international level, and the joint unit is well positioned to better serve the needs of the community and in a better position to ensure the safety of our members. Before integration, large-scale suspicious powder call happened at the Bank of Canada, and a second call came in the west end of a suspicious package. Our unit was only able to handle one call at a time at that time, and they had to call the RCMP, who had to scramble to get out to the call. The results of this integrated operation are that the joint CBNRE unit has expanded and has expert resources at hand to respond quickly and decisively to large-scale operations and multiple operations. Before integration, the RCMP and OPS used to provide separate CBNRE response capabilities in the city of Ottawa. And this created a duplication of many services. During VIP visits, OPS would make their plan at the municipal level and RCMP at the federal level, and they would basically fulfill some of the same mandates, but not working together or jointly. OPS would have to use tactical officers in these situations, reducing the number of members available to respond to calls. Now the joint CBNRE unit can work together in these situations, and also our tactical officers are on the tactical unit to do their work. After integration, the unit only allows for faster response and joint training, but the OPS and RCMP can access each other's resources. I'll give you an example. In 2012, there were suspicious liquids and powders were found in a residence in Ottawa. Thanks to the unit, the RCMP lab was able to test the material, and it was a highly explosive called TATP. I could try to say the name, but triacetone triperoxide. Yeah, I practiced that this afternoon a few times. So hopefully Milt gives me a thumbs up on that one. Perfect. All right. Better than me. Thank you. Before integration, we would have had to wait 48 hours and send a sample of that to a lab in Toronto. But because the RCMP and OPS are able to access each other's resources, they were immediately able to identify this and work together to destroy the chemical. In June 2015, a Dwyer Hill Road call came in. There was old commercial explosives, approximately 55 pounds in a barn that was being cleaned out. The nitroglycerin had leaked out and soaked the cardboard box, and the box was in a plastic bag so it didn't spill into the surrounding area. There were also a box of detonators present. This was a very volatile situation, and due to the unstable state of the dynamite, our CBNRE team were able to remove it from the barn manually using our robot to bring it to a distance on a gravel driveway. Explosive and detonators were removed from the scene, and they were all destroyed at that location. They searched for other explosives, and they found none. Within 6 hours, they were there. They destroyed what they had to, and they were able to clear the scene. In conclusion, the CBNRE is an excellent example of collaboration between the Ottawa Police Service and the RCMP. It is unique in Canada and is able to provide a better service to the community, a service that's faster, more efficient, and also more cost-effective. The integrated team has resulted in approximately $100,000 in savings for OPS last year. Collaboration is crucial in today's age. We know that terrorists prefer a method of attack that includes explosives. When we think about the easy availability of exploding targets and the threat of homegrown terrorism, it is clear that the integrated operations team is more important than ever. This is a reality that the Ottawa Police Service and the RCMP are tackling together. That's the end of the presentation and the profile of the unit, and we're available for any questions.
First of all, thank you both for the presentation, and have any question from my colleague? No? Chief? Okay, you have a question, okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was especially interested in the fact that, you know, after all these years that you have that coordination now with the RCMP and us. And, you know, I wonder why it took that long for it to happen. Was it, I'm going to guess at it, so if that's not politically correct to answer my question, then that's fine. But it's interesting that the money you're saving as well. But more importantly, just the faster response time. So good for you.
Well, thank you. Do you want to answer that, Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think a number of years ago we recognized in the NCR, in the National Capital Region, that we have something really special with the relationships with all our public safety partners, and we got together with the RCMP and explored different ways and different opportunities. And I think the first one was around the CBRNE unit, and one of the easiest ways, because we all operate in the same way. RCMP does their work with respect to bomb disposal and explosive searches the same way. There are standards across Canada. So that made it that much easier, and I think it was a great opportunity to save money, and it was a win-win situation for both organizations, and at the end of the day, it's a win for the community because it is cheaper. We've got access to some amazing resources. Milt and his team are experts in Canada, and so we rely on their expertise at the front line to make sure that we stay safe. We've explored other opportunities with the RCMP, like the tactical unit. The challenge with that one is that we operate differently, and there are different training procedures, and there's larger costs involved. But we continue to look at, we're exploring K9 to see, okay, are there opportunities there that we can work closer with the K9 unit, with RCMP and those types of things. But there's a lot of cooperation and collaboration does take place, and we see it whether it's Canada Day, whether it's through NALS, that we have to be integrated, and it's the smart way of doing business these days.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Superintendent Neistat, and both of you for this presentation. So on a presentation,
thank you.
Chief. Thank you. Item number 1, the Chief's verbal report. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, bonsoir. It has been a very active few weeks that highlights the range of duties that we undertake as a police service. This past weekend, our members worked to support the race weekend events. It was a successful event, and I received many comments and witnessed firsthand the professionalism and the work of our members. We have ongoing investigations relating to a shooting on Slater Street, as well as a homicide in the south end of our city. And in the last week, our members have seized 4 handguns and made our streets safer by the work that was done, not only here locally, but in partnership with the Gatineau Police Service. With respect to our armed robberies, our robbery squad solved a string of 5 armed robberies of stores and banks committed by the same individuals between March 19th and May 3rd. Sergeant Mark Kilby of the robbery unit led the efforts to locate and arrest the suspect. The investigation turned up much of the money stolen, as well as the demand note used in the robberies. Just to highlight some of the work around Canada Road Safety Week, our members have been doing some great work to create road safety awareness through education and enforcement, especially during Canadian Road Safety Week that took place in mid-May. We recently held 2 impaired and distracted driving crash simulations with students at the Saint-Béjanet and Louis-Riel high schools. Along with education, that's a bit better. Along with education, our frontline patrol and traffic unit officers conducted citywide enforcement efforts. There were 146 provincial offences notices issued for distracted driving. More than 500 tickets were issued for speeding, 19 for disobeying a stop sign, 63 for red light running, and 30 others for HDA offences. Alongside our road safety, our Safer Roads Ottawa partners, we've also been engaging with cyclists and other road users. I want to thank the members involved in Police Week, which took place between May 15th and May 21st this year. And the theme this year was Discover Policing for Safer Communities. 3 successful community police events were held in priority neighbourhoods with about 800 people attending. And I know that we had one in Councillor Tierney's ward in Jasmine, which was a great success. In addition, 6 pounds of prescription medications were collected for the National Prescription Drug Drop-Off campaign as part of the week. The program offers a safe place for those wishing to dispose of outdated, unused, and unwanted prescription drugs. You heard around NALS, and we also have Canada Day coming up. So we continue to work with our partners in preparation for both the North American Leaders Summit, which is referred to as NALS, on June 29th, and Canada Day. The Ottawa Police Service is part of an integrated security unit approach to planning and operations and are actively working with the RCMP and other public safety partners. The RCMP is the lead agency for NAL's preparation and the operations. While we have experience holding major events, having 2 major events back-to-back is a challenge. Our planning teams are making every effort to reduce logistical impacts, and the staffing team is working hard to provide the appropriate resourcing. This past March, the province filed a new regulation under the Police Services Act regarding the collection of identifying information in certain circumstances, prohibition and duties. It's commonly referred to as the Street Checks regulations. The regulations include rules for data collection, retention, access and management, training and reporting requirements. All police services must implement these tools by January 1st, 2017. The regulation further requires the establishment of a board policy and chief's procedure by July 1st, 2016. The Ontario Chiefs of Police Association created a working group to ensure consistent implementation of the regulations by police services across the province. Our Street Checks project lead, Inspector Mark Patterson, is also participating on a provincial working group. An update report focusing on the policy and procedures requirement will be provided in next month in time to meet our deadline of July 1st, 2016. On May 10th, we launched a consultation to gather feedback from partners, stakeholders, and residents on community policing and our new frontline deployment model. We're gathering input in a number of ways, including an online questionnaire, written submissions, presentations, and targeted stakeholder sessions. About 400 questionnaires have been completed by residents to date, and over 100 stakeholders have registered for the targeted sessions we are holding in early June. The input gathered during the consultation will help us further develop our deployment model and ensure that the needs of the community are met. We will be reporting back to the board on the results of the consultation in our quarterly service initiative update at the July meeting. And finally, I'd like to thank all the participants in the Special Olympics Torch Run. Policing and the Special Olympics have a unique and strong relationship, and we're proud to continue supporting these types of events. Last year, police services across Ontario raised over $1.85 million in support of the Special Olympics through the Law Enforcement Torch Run. And this year, we're hoping to raise approximately $2 million. So we held our torch run today where the Special Olympics athletes and the police officers and peace officers and along with my 2 deputy chiefs, a number of officers ran through the downtown streets and raised awareness and some much-needed cash to help us achieve our goal. So, Chair, that's my board report.
Thank you, Chief. Any question to Chief's report? Chief, you mentioned on the street check data collection, the regulation to have an officer in training by January 17. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. The legislation dictates that by January 1st, 2017, all police officers that do street checks or collect this information will have to be trained. So we are working, chiefs across Ontario are working with the Ontario Police College that will develop that training, which will be a combination of online and in-class instructions that will be done during the course of the fall.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief. On the Chief's report, receive. Thank you. So item number 3 was held by Member Velikach. She has a question about the Byward Market Street Ambassador Program. Member Velikach.
Yes, I have personal knowledge of this program because when I was the executive director of the Vanier BIA, we called upon Yasna Jennings in the Byward Market to assist us in setting up a program in Vanier. And thank you again for that because it was very helpful. The program is extremely well organized. And in reading the report and all of the great successes of this program, including I believe you have the Casino Lacligny as a supporter, which to me is quite incredible. They're on the other side of the river. I mean, you know, it's kind of interesting that they would want to support this program, so it speaks volumes to me. there are other areas of our city with BIAs that require similar kinds or that could benefit from this kind of a program. And I'm just wondering if it isn't time for us to look at the successes of this particular program to see if there's some way that we could maybe look at expanding it into a larger area. As I say, it was beneficial for us in Vanier at the time, and I'm just wondering if there's some interest around the table here to look at the possibility of using this model, just like crime prevention presented to us this evening. They're going to be expanding the program that they're doing in Overbrook. Maybe there's a way that we could ask the Byward Market to help us in looking at maybe making this a best practice across the city. Just putting it out there.
Okay. Clearly, this program been going on since 1997, and the Police Service Board been one of the partners next to the City of Ottawa Market Management, Casino, so other partner. So, if with your endorsement, we can take this direction, and we can speak to the chair of policy committee, and maybe time for us to review the process here and see what we can learn from it, and hopefully we can help other area with this. So we'll take that as a direction, if that's okay. Okay, on the item itself is the item K. Thank you very much. And before we, this will include our portion, but before we go on camera, we have inquiry by Member Turney has asked me, it's going to be moving inquiry. Member Turney, I turn it to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And first of all, this was brought to my attention by just some members I was talking to, and they were talking about specifically about accommodation. And after doing research over about the period of a month and a half and speaking to many officers, I hear it is a concern in some of their minds. And while I'm very sure a majority are merited, I feel it's best to put this in as an inquiry so we can see if it actually is or is not meeting some other levels. But before I do that, I did want to thank Steve Bell for the work he's done on this. I've been asking several questions back and forth, and he's probably tired of me at this point. But I'll just read the inquiry, Mr. Chair, and of course it could be followed up at the next meeting. As there are 160 out of 1,400 uniformed officers in accommodation, and whereas the same officers on accommodation are allowed to work paid duty, is this consistent with other municipal police services? And number two, do you consider this a high number of officers on accommodation for municipal police services? And just to clarify, going through the numbers, and they're quite complex, and there's a lot of intricacies to how this is applied. I know the question in people's minds. This is actually, the 160 is about the formal medical accommodations, temporary or permanent or otherwise. It's not sick leave, LTD, or unpaid leave. So seems like a bit of a high number. I'll leave that with the experts to bring that back to us. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay.
Thank you very much, Member Turney, and we'll take the inquiry from you for the Executive Director. That would conclude our public portion of the meeting, so I need a motion to move in camera. Moved by Member Velikat. Okay, thank you very much, folks, and have a good evening.